So in the last video, we showed you how you can add image-based capabilities to your apps using chat models such as Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro and Meta's Llama 3.2 Vision Instruct. And in this video, we're going to take things to the next level by creating a sequential agent that can actually design web pages. And so what this sequential agent is going to be able to do is not only is it going to be able to generate code from an image or a screenshot, but it's also going to be able to do its own research as well as generate its own images to create a final web page at the end. And so this was a really exciting and very interesting project because it really ties together all of the things that we've been doing so far, and it really shows you the power and the possibilities of using these large language models with vision capabilities to do just about anything. So previously we were showing you how it can be used to do things like analysis and classification and description, but it can do so much more. And so what we wanted to do for this particular project was we wanted to be able to take the HTML code that was generated from our screenshots and then use that as a starting point to develop our own content pages and landing pages. And when I first did this, I didn't really actually know what to expect. But I was really surprised about the results that I was able to get by using these large language models, as well as using like an agent flow, for example, using the sequential agents to really fine tune and to control the process. And so if you want to get access to these files, we're actually going to make them available as a part of our Flowise Core Essentials course. So just go ahead and click on the link below to get all the details. And so for this project, what we're doing is we're creating a sequential agent that really takes and breaks down the process of creating a website into basically just a few steps. So the first step is we actually want to get the screenshot for the website so we can actually have a reference image. And then based on that reference image, we actually want to create HTML code that we can use for the rest of the process. Okay, so for this sequential agent, what we're doing is we're basically taking the entire process of designing a landing page or a web page, and we're breaking it down into its core tasks, and then we're assigning that task to an individual agent or a team of agents, and then they're going to be working together to actually create the final HTML code that incorporates both the original code along with our content and our images as well. And so if we take a look at this particular sequential agent here, this version, you can see that the first agent that we're working with is our web designer. So with this agent flow, we have basically 4 different types of workers. We have our web designer, we have our content writers and researchers, we have our art director, and we also have our project coordinator. So for our first agent, we have our web designer, and it's going to basically do what we did in the previous video. It's actually going to take the reference image that it receives, and it's going to create the HTML code. And it says, you know, you're a talented web designer who can code HTML. Please turn the image design into HTML code. Also, please use Tailwind style CSS elements in the HTML code to actually make the website look sleek and professional. And so here, you know, the prompts are very, very important. You want to be very descriptive in your prompts. And so in this version, we're actually uploading the image. And then in the next version of the sequential agent, we actually are using N8N to basically, you know, type in the web URL. And so then what we do is once it actually generates the code, it's going to pass that to our content researcher. And the content researcher is also going to, he's going to get the user request or the description of what we're looking for as well. So he'll be able to take that and actually create and do the research that's needed in order to create our content. And so in this case, the web design, it's actually taking the content from the web design and it's using that to create the web pages or the content for the web pages. All right, so if we close that down, and then the next step is to take that research and then we pass it to the content writer. And again, the content writer is going to take that and just create, in this case, 3 articles based on the topic. And then that content is going to get passed to our art director. And for our art director, we're actually generating 2 different types of images. we're generating a Brave image search based on our content, and we're also generating a Flux image. We're using flux.dev to generate custom images for our website. So using a combination of those two sources, we should have enough images for our web page. And in fact, doing this a couple times, it actually generates so many images that we don't actually use all of the images that we generate. But it's good to have a mix of images that we can use. And then once that's finished, in this particular one, the web designer was actually, in this particular one, the project coordinator was receiving the images and the content as well as the web design, and it was passing that all to the web designer, the final web designer, who would create the final code. And so here in the web designer, we have the system prompt, your talented web designer who can code HTML. Very, very similar to the first one. Given the reference web design, the article content, and the image content, please create a final HTML code for a beautiful website design that includes the images and article content. So in this case, I was really trying to make sure that it was adding all of the content as possible, because before it would just take some of it, it wouldn't use all of it. All right, so when we open up the chat window, we can see that we've already added an image here. We've already uploaded an image, and we've said, based on the reference photo, please create a website HTML code that teaches clients the benefits of commercial drones or using commercial drones for real estate photography. Now, this is the original website that we're taking the image from. So like I said, we created a screenshot, and then we created from that screenshot, we just uploaded it to our image. All right. And so then what it does is basically it's going to analyze this image, and it gives us the HTML code. And like I said, the quality of the code, it really depends on the model that you're using. So for this model, we're using the Google Gemini 1.5 Pro, I believe. And so it basically gave us the site, and we can actually take a look at what that looks like here. Let's see here. Let's go here, and then we're going to just take a quick look at the initial version. All right. And you can see this is the initial version. And then if we go back and we take a look at the website again, you can see the font. It took the inspiration from the font. Again, it's never going to copy the website exactly, which is actually a good thing. And so it basically gives us like the basic look and feel of the site, right? And now if we go ahead and we continue scrolling down, you can see that after it generated the HTML, then it actually passed that to the content researcher, and the content researcher did our Brave search, and this is the some of the research, and then based on that, it came up with content that we could use. Came up with some articles that we can use, and then it passed that content to our art director, and our art director generated images using our Brave search. So these are the links for the Brave search. And we'll show you this on the back end. We'll show you the N8N automator. We'll show you the N8N automation that we used. And then we also generated our own Flux images. And then those Flux images were actually added to our website. We actually updated it or uploaded it to our server so we can actually use it. And then our project coordinator took all of that, took the images, and basically created a list of all the images that we can actually use for our design, all right, for our actual, the content for the page. We scroll on down, and then all of that information, the initial web design, the article content, and the image content was passed to the web designer, and the web designer was tasked with actually using that to create a final website design. So let's go ahead and show that to you. So this is the final website design, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. Now, obviously, we can change out images that we want, but if we compare it to the original one, it actually did a pretty good job. And so, we've actually done this a couple different times, and the results are similar. They're not always the same, but I think this is a really great first try for our language models, for our, sequential agents. And it really kind of shows you just like exactly how sophisticated they can, the pages, the types of pages they can create. And because we're using our Tailwind CSS styles, we're actually already building, a lot of design already into our pages. So we don't actually do as much, and it makes it much, much easier. And even gives us a quote request form at the bottom. And so it does a really, really good job. All right, so this is just a small taste of what it can actually do. And so what we're going to do is we're going to show you the actual updated version of our sequential agents, because when I was doing this before, everything was one step after another, and I noticed that the HTML was really causing one of the agents to really slow down. So what I did was, in this version of our sequential agents, I actually split things up a little bit, and I made it so that we kind of did two parallel tasks. So the first one was we generated the website code like before, but then instead of passing that website code to our content researcher, we actually just sent our content researcher just the request and not any kind of HTML code. And this actually really sped up a lot of the entire process, because it didn't really have to deal with HTML code and the content request, the user request at the same time, and it really speeds things up. And so what we're going to do is we are actually going to test this now, and then we're going to show you how we actually built this. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we're going to expand the content window. And then this takes a little while, so that's why we're doing it this way. So we're going to go ahead, and this is Formlabs. We're actually going to be taking the website design inspiration from Formlabs. This is for 3D printing, a 3D printing machine, all right? So you can see this is a very simple page, actually. The web design is not that complex, but it does look very smooth and streamlined, and it's a very good example of testing our system, all right? And so what we're going to do is we're basically going to copy and paste our website as well as our prompt. And I have not seen what this has done. I've not actually done this before. This is the first time I've done it with this particular website. So it could be great. It could be terrible. We'll see. And so we're going to come back to this later on. Okay, so while that's working, let's go ahead and show you the new version of this. So as we said before, we start with the web design, and then we also start with the content research team. So we have our researcher, and then we have our writer. And so that the user request for what we want gets passed to our researcher, and then the website gets passed to our website designer, the URL. And then what happens is that the content research team, once they're finished, they pass their content to the art director. And then once the art director is finished developing the images, it sends that to our project coordinator. And then the project coordinator takes everything and sends it to the web designer. And the web designer also gets the code from the first web designer, all right? And so on the back end, I'm going to show you some of the tools that we're using. So this is the back end for the version where we're just using a URL. We're not actually uploading an image. And what we're basically doing is we're passing the URL to our screen capture tool here called Browserless. You can also use a tool like Screenshot One, for example, that does the exact same thing. It's a cloud-based service. And so what this will do is it will actually capture the website into like a PNG or a JPEG. And then it will send that to a basic LLM chain. And in this case, we're using the Llama 3.2 90B Vision Instruct model. And then that is going to create a HTML code that we can use for our reference design. All right, so if you go ahead and click on the module here, we can see that we have the prompt that we're using. And in this case, what we did was we actually expanded the prompt so that we can actually get more of a comprehensive, more detailed HTML code. And then for the output, you can see that it actually gives us the output for the website that we entered, okay? And then what it's going to do is it's going to basically pass this to an extractor. And what this does is it basically just extracts just the HTML code. So it leaves out whatever text may be here. Okay, so the next one is the Flux Images tool for the art director. And in this case, what it's doing is it's actually sending a prompt to our Flux generator, and the Flux service is we're using Replicate for the Flux service to generate the images. And then once we generate the images, those are going to be downloaded, and then they're going to be uploaded to our server. And at the same time, we're actually going to generate a file name for the image, because it just comes out to be a generic, numbered file name. So we want to create something special so we can actually kind of recognize it. And then all of that gets passed back to our LLM. So we have the prompt, we have the file name, and we also have the actual file path for that image, so we can actually use it in the final web design. And then for the next tool, we have our Brave image search tool. And this is very similar. It's a little bit more straightforward because we're not generating the images. So we're basically doing a Brave image search based on what the LLM is looking for. And then it's going to essentially filter some of those results, because you do get a lot with the Brave image search. And then we're just going to send those links back to our LLM. All right. And so what we did was we actually did this for a number of different websites. And it's really, really interesting what happens when you can take a system like this and you can use it to generate, like different types of content pages. And so the first one we were looking at was we were using it for Blender again. And I think you've already seen that one. And so let's just show you the updated one. So the last time it was just basically using, like a very basic version of the agent flow. And then using things like, adding the enhanced prompts, sometimes even switching out the language models, we actually got different results. So this was one of the results. And one of the things that we asked the AI to do, the language models to do, was to add or, incorporate more of the article content from the writers into the actual web design. And this is one of the first ones where it actually did that. So while the design isn't necessarily like, award winning, it added the text that we wanted, and it also added the images that we wanted. So this one did a really good job of really, capturing the things that we wanted and adding it to a web page. And so the next one was actually even better because, with each version, each generation, you sometimes get slightly different, designs. And so this one did a very good job of, adding more of the visual component to it, having like this big hero section, as well as having more text, which is really, really great. And what I really like at the bottom here, it added even more images. And using the combination of Flux and also Blender, or using Flux and Brave, actually gives you enough images so that you can use it for different designs. And so that was a really, really good example of, really being able to combine all of them. Now, the next one was for a 3D printed website, home website. And so this is pretty awesome because you can see, again, this big hero section here. I believe this is a Brave image search that it put in the background, but you can always switch that out. And then we wanted to talk about the benefits and advantages of using 3D printing for home construction. And so you can see it here. And so it gives us a little bit of content, gives us some related images. Again, in this case, most of these images are Brave search results images. So it pretty much took from the existing list and just chose an image. But because it's already related, most of the time they do a pretty good job. And so that was that one. And then we did one for another software called ZBrush. And ZBrush is the website itself is very streamlined and it's very well done. And so using that one, you can see that it took the inspiration, but it wasn't exactly the same, but it still looked pretty good. The black, sort of theme, we wanted it to talk about what, ZBrush is and how it could actually help artists and animators and things like that. And so it gives us basically like a template that we can use. And so I think it did a really, really good job. You can see these are the features of ZBrush. So I asked it to give us, the features and advantages of ZBrush, and it kind of did that. And this is all based on research. So this is not just, it making things up. It actually did some research using Brave to actually give us those answers. And then we can see the FAQs. So this is like an intelligent way to create content pages, which is really great. Let's see here. For this one, we actually took the same website, right, the same web design, and we asked it to talk about Substance Painter, which is another 3D program that's used for adding textures and coloring or painting your 3D models, right? And so this was really cool. I really like this because this is actually a Flux generated model. And so what it's doing was it's taking the content and it's creating its own prompts that then go into the images. And this was great. I mean, I really like this. And it's very close to, some of these software programs out there. So that was pretty awesome. And this was pretty good. I like that one as well. That was a great image. And so you can see it, by using these tools, you can create something totally new that of course you can edit, but that can give you some really great results. Right, so this one was another one. This is Chaos V-Ray. This is basically a rendering engine for Blender. Another like 3D modeling tool here. So this is the actual website, okay? And we took this, did the same thing, and from that, our AI, our sequential agent, created this. And I don't know, this was a really, really good example. Like it's a simple page. It's not that complicated, but it's really done really well. And it made me think about like if you actually take templates and you just say, hey, you just give it a template instead of having it go through individual websites. This is the type of design, the type of result it can give you. And again, it's not that complex, but it's really well laid out. And then we also, on top of that, we added our research. So our web designer is really able to add all of these different elements to create a great looking site. This is another version of that, as you can see. Slightly different, but it did basically the same thing, okay? And then we continued and we got with Zero Labs. And what they do is they actually build these custom electrified retro vehicles, these retro cars. And so this was the original design, as you can see. And then if we go to our design, the one that the AI did, it's not bad. You can see the elements. I like this right here. So you have the two different images there. This is a Flux model, which is pretty amazing, pretty awesome. These are actually, I think these are all Flux models, I believe. I have to check. And then this might be a Brave search. I believe this is a Flux model. I'm not sure, but I think it's a Flux model. So it did a really good job. So just a few more. This is a variation on the same one. That's a Flux model right there. That's also a Flux model. So you can see that the layouts are pretty similar. They're pretty much the same. And so one of the last ones was I wanted to kind of go in a different direction, and I chose this company. They make these sparkling tonics, and again, it has a great looking website. It's very nice. I wanted to see if we could actually sort of, replicate some of this. And so as you can see here, we basically just, gave it the URL and we said, please talk about 5 healthy beverages that are nutritious with lots of vitamins in 2025. And this is the result that it gave us. Okay. And so not bad. I like the colors here. It kind of tried to switch things up. If you see, it kind of took some of the inspiration from our original page, as you can see with the colors. So that was actually pretty cool. So you can see how it's really taking the look and feel of the sites, and it's trying to incorporate that into sort of like a unique design. And so this is really an incredible project and so many things that you can do with it. So let's go ahead and see if our AI is finished, and I think it is. All right, let's make sure this is the one. Let's go all the way up. Yeah, this is Formlabs. Okay. So I want to actually see, because this is the first time I've actually seen this, because I actually have not tried this before. I actually want to see, okay, so we're not able to see the original web design because we can't just, it didn't put it into a way that we can just download it easily. But if we go ahead and we see that it did the content writing, okay, and did the articles. And what we did was we asked it for very specific articles, right? So we made sure our prompt was a little bit more detailed than it has been in the past. And then it came up with images from our Brave search. And it also looks like it came up with images for our Flux images as well. Then it did the same thing. It created an entire like list of them all. And let's see here. So let's go to scroll down here. I think maybe it did it twice or something. I'm not sure there. So this may not be a very good version. All right. So like I said, sometimes you have to try it a couple different times. Sometimes it depends on the model itself. This may be a very, very basic version. Okay, so it didn't actually do anything this time. So yeah, so it gave us the 3D printers and materials. And what we would have to do is we would have to basically run this a second time. Okay, so after trying this a couple times, we actually got some designs we really liked. And it's really important to remember that, you have to have some patience when working with LLMs, because when they work great, it's fantastic. But when they don't, you just have to keep trying. And so in this case, what was happening was that we weren't getting the HTML code that we wanted from our LLM. And so we actually ran this independently, and we actually got a design we really liked. But before that, we were getting designs that were kind of basically like template designs. So I'll give you an example. So this was the second try, and it's more of a template-based, very simple, text image, layout, which is fine. But we actually wanted something a little bit better because this was the original design, right? And we wanted something that was more modeled after this design than just a simple, text layout. And so the next one that we got, like I said, we did do this a couple times. The next one we got was this, which isn't bad, but it's kind of the same. It's just that the layout is a little bit different. And so after running the LLM separately, we actually got this design. This was the actual design that we got on one of our runs, just from the image capture, image to HTML. Okay, and we really wanted to put this into our agent flow, and we were having some issues with the HTML. And so what we actually ended up doing was we actually ended up creating a template, which is what we talked about before. And so with the template, we actually captured this so that we actually didn't have to do any kind of generation at all, because we already had a good good example. And within N8N, you can actually create these HTML templates, which is really, really cool. So that you're getting just the template, and you're not getting, like a generated HTML that you may not, be sure of. And from this, once we are actually able to get this into our workflow, this was the next one that we got, right? This was the next version that was generated by by our agent flow, right? And so I really like this because it's a lot closer to the original, the one that we were looking at, the color scheme and everything, which is great. And if we really wanted to, we could actually even have it deliberately put in some of the elements, like these text boxes here, and with the with the icons and things like that. So it's just important to keep trying if you're not getting exactly what you want. And these images are all generated using Flux. So the agent flow basically took the content and then created the image prompts, and then created those and then displayed them using Flux. And then this one is another one that it used, of course, the same similar type of style. And what's nice about these, because we're using Tailwind, what's amazing about these is that they're also mobile responsive. They're already mobile responsive, so you don't have to do anything. And they look pretty good. And let me see, if we go and look at this one, it should be pretty much the same, but we go ahead and look at this one. You can see that it looks really good on mobile, actually, being mobile responsive. And so it looks amazing. And then I don't know if is that with the, okay. So I think that's actually a part of the design as well. I'm not sure, we'll see. So then if we kind of go back and look at some of the older ones that we just looked at, this one is for Substance Painter, all right? and you can see that it's actually doing the design. The mobile design is really good. It looks incredible, actually. You could actually use this as a part of a campaign, a content marketing campaign. And this was the Zero Labs website that we created. And again, on mobile, it looks great, right? It looks really, really good on mobile. Of course, you can always switch the images out. And then this was the last one. This was ZBrush, and yeah, the design is almost, it's almost like made more for mobile than it is for web. But anyway, just like I said, you just have to keep trying if you don't get exactly what you want the first time. And actually, in the future, what we might do is actually even create more templates, because you can run these image to HTMLs separately, and then just capture the template, and then just use the template, like I said, as inspiration for creating your content pages. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.